One thing about the Filipino that makes me feel at home is the vibes. You know, they see you, hey Joe, hey man, where you going? For me, the Filipino people has a level of humility that I do wish my own countrymen would have the same. You can have nothing and still be having a level of happiness and satisfaction. Maybe if I become a missionary pilot, I can reach more Filipino people. Yeah, I'm not paid. I'm not paid to do this, but knowing that people's lives are being saved, I tried my best. We got in, but the patient didn't make it. People are alive today because of that little effort. Was resting like this on the coffin, just crying and embracing her son. I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed. Sometimes I need the funds. I don't have it. I don't know anyone who has it. I wish I had the support that never stops or no break, but I'm available. But if the government, if the mayor doesn't approve it, it cannot happen. And these people have nobody else to ask for them. So I said, forget my pride. Forget what people will say about me.
Ang paghahanap ng aming mga guest at pagbabahagi ng kanilang kwento ay nangangailangan ng maraming oras. Pero sa tulong nyo, makakadiscover kami ng mga iba't iba pang mga istorya ng ordinaryong Pilipino. Para sa mas magandang community experience, pwede kayo makipag-usap at magtanong ng kahit ano sa aming mga naging guests at manatiling anonymous sa Discord. I-click nyo lamang ang join button para maging isang exclusive member. Maraming salamat!
So, hi everyone, my name is Davin Bennett, and I am originally from the beautiful island of Jamaica, 39 years old, and I'm a missionary pilot here in the Philippines and the founder of Flying by Faith social media platform.
Davin, so you mentioned that you were from Jamaica. Can you tell us a little bit more about your life there?
So I was born 1985, and my mom had me when she was 19 years old. 2 years later, I became basically growing up with a single parent household. My mom dropped out of high school, never had a formal education. And, you know, in those days, when you drop out of school and you have a kid at 19, you become the black sheep of the family. And so poverty was definitely something we really struggled with for years and years and years. And her only job that I remember her doing my entire childhood and adulthood growing up was domestic helper. She's a domestic helper. She takes care of sick people, babies, clean people's house, wash their clothes. And so born and raised in Jamaica as a single parent household has its a lot of struggles. As a matter of fact, there's one psychologist there who he has a prediction. He said that the average male born and raised in a single parent household without a dad will eventually be either killed or imprisoned by 18 years old. And so I kind of beat the odds, and I'm still here at 39 years old. So because my mom chose, I mean, for survival, she was a domestic helper her entire life and mine as well. By the time I get to 13 years old, I'm on my own. Prior to that, she basically left me in the countryside of Jamaica to go find domestic work in the city. And those jobs were living helpers. So she would come home once a month, sometime 2 months, 3 months. I didn't get a chance to see her. But fortunately, she left me in the care of some amazing neighbors. It was a broken family similar to mine, except there were more boys, but still no dad was present. It was a lady and her mom with her two sons and her nephew. So those three boys became my brothers. They were like my brother, and the ladies like my grandma, and her daughters like my aunt. And so they were the ones who really nurtured me, cared for me, and my mom would come home when she can to give them some money and groceries and then go back to the city. So I was on my own away from my mom prior to being 12 years old. And then at 12, I went to live with her when she had her first marriage. And sadly, that marriage ended up in domestic violence. Like my mom and I were beat up by my stepdad. And so by 13, she left, was on her own again. And then she left me in her little We had captured a piece of land in a squatter's area. We built a one-room flat, external bathroom, and so I was in high school by that time, 13 years in high school, and I had to wash, cook, and clean and take care of myself because my mom again was a living helper during my high school years. So that most of my growing up years, I've been on my own or in the care of my neighbor, and it's because of the job my mom had to do to put food on the table.
What would you say is the effect regarding this experience of yours?
Well, one thing I'm learning now as I'm getting older is I'm very emotional and I'm more like I have traits of that feminine side, soft, kind-hearted, nurturing nature and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because if I had a dad, I would have been more tough and rough, a little bit without criticizing people who have dads. But I find that I'm very not the feminine side like today's society want to cross dress and stuff, but I find myself more on the nurturing, caring side, and I know I got that primarily from my mom. Also, poverty did help to shape my life where we didn't have much. So compared to where I am today, I grew up with nothing. So everything I have today is something where I don't let it get to my head because I'm like, it's just a miracle to be in this position that I am today.
Let's talk about your hometown, Jamaica. What was it like over there? Can you tell us a bit more about?
So, okay, it's basically like the Philippines, provincial life. You have to carry water from a spring, put it on your head. You sweep the yard with your homemade wallis that you go cut stuff in the wild and put it together. Kept getting firewood in the morning to get the meal going for the day and throughout the day. So that life for me was just exciting. I enjoyed it actually. I look back, I have no complaints. But it was very simple life, very simple life. You had to really survive. We didn't have money to, just go around buying snacks. And just growing up in that, I grew up making my own toys. Like my mom never had the money to buy me toys, so I built my own trucks using the empty carton boxes of, when people buy a drink and they finish, you get razor blade and you make that, and the cover, the cork or the cover of the sodas, that's what we use for wheels. And so poverty shaped me to be creative. One interesting thing I remember growing up in elementary school, we were so poor we couldn't have a whole pencil or a notebook. They would cut the notebook in half and they would cut the pencil in half. And you had to learn how to budget that pencil as long as you can, and that notebook had to serve. So when you rip a page out trying to make paper plain, oh yeah, you get spanking for that.
You mentioned that Philippines and Jamaica is almost similar together, but
Yes.
what would you say is the biggest difference between the two?
Um, I would say the biggest difference is the mentality of the people. The poverty line back in Jamaica, it's a little bit different from the Philippines. In that as poor as Jamaica is, there's some level that the average Jamaican just will not go. Like when I came here, I learned to sleep on the floor and embrace that. Like even now, my bed is still on the floor and I love it. But back home, it's like no one puts their bed on the floor. It's like, what are you doing? Get a frame, make it yourself, etc. So the poverty level is something that strikes me as a big difference. And then humility on some levels, where I appreciate the humility of the Filipino people. Not saying not everyone, I mean, everyone has their level of humility, but for me, the Filipino people has a level of humility that I do wish my own countrymen would have the same level of humility, where people here in this country, they've come to embrace certain things and they kind of hold it forever. Whereas back home, if you grow up on a certain level of poverty and then you make it out, sometimes there's this fear of not even wanting to embrace where people are coming from. But the Filipinos, they have taught me that you can have nothing and still be having a level of happiness and satisfaction with the lack of what you might have. Back home, it's rare to find that. It's very rare to find that. And I hope I don't get in trouble with my Jamaican folks.
Do you still go back there?
The last time I went home was 2016. It's been 8 years since I went home, and it's primarily because of time and finances. Going home, it's a very costly trip. As a matter of fact, every now and then I will check. Sometimes it's like 250,000, 500,000 pesos for tickets and stuff. So financially and visa wise, it's not the easiest trip to make. So haven't been home in 6 years. Actually, eight.
So now I'm assuming that you live here in the Philippines. Can you please tell us a story about how and why you came here?
Yeah. So basically, when I was around, yeah, by the time I got to 18 years old, which 18 is a cutoff time in a Jamaican household. You get to 18, you're done with high school, especially if it's a poor, home like mine. I don't want to be a burden to my mom anymore, so I left home at 18. I went to live with my brother. He didn't have much, so I was living on his kitchen floor, hoping I can find work and some way to survive. And it was tough. By the time I got to 22 years old, I'm now Seventh-day Adventist at that point, Seventh-day Adventist Christian, and I got the opportunity to travel to Canada to do mission work. I was there for 3 summers in a row, and that exposure gave me some opportunity to see a little bit outside of Jamaica. Then by 25, I got a chance to go to a mission school in the US. And in that mission school, they were teaching me how to minister to people using health principles, natural remedies as well. So I'm not a doctor or a nurse, but I know enough to reason from cause to effect and to educate people and offer some natural remedies when they have certain ailment. While I was studying in the US to be a medical missionary, as we refer to it as, I was researching after the training. Usually, the graduating class will go to a foreign country for 1 month as a class. We go together and we divide the workload. But I was like, man, I'm here for a year and a half. I don't think 1 month is enough to try and see if I've learned enough to help people. So I did some research and I look at where can I go for at least 6 months to try and exhaust this mission training that I just received. And I had two options. It was Romania or the Philippines, based on my visa that I have, my passport. And so I was like, man, I don't want to go to Romania. That seemed like a far-fetched place. I have no idea. So I started researching the Philippines, and I said, it looks like the Philippines is a good option because I don't even need a visa to come to the Philippines as a Jamaican national. And at the time, I had my eye on a Filipino who was my classmate, and so I was like, yeah, if I somehow get connected with her and we have a relationship, and then I go to her country, at least I know someone there. This person could translate, tour me around, and I can do the mission work for 6 months. And so that's pretty much how I came here. It was only two countries I could go to, and the Philippines was the most favorable one based on my citizenship.
How long have you been staying in the Philippines now?
Since I got here, my first visit was 2013. Accumulatingly, I have now lived in the Philippines for 12 years. It's home for me now. I don't see myself going anywhere else anytime soon. It has become home for me after 12 years. One thing about the Filipino that makes me feel at home is the vibes. Like, they see you, hey Joe, hey man, where you going? And Jamaicans do that too. We do that to tourists all the time. Hey man, yeah man. And so we have that in common, and it makes me feel at home because of that.
You mentioned that you started traveling as part of a mission. Would you mind telling us what you do?
The first mission opportunity I got in Canada was knocking on doors with Christian books, health books, and books for children. And then the one in the States was more medical missionary, which is health. So giving health lecture, seminars, cooking schools to people who want to improve their diet and their health. When I got to the Philippines, I started traveling all throughout Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. I was assigned in various places, sometimes 6 months, 1 year, 3 months, 1 month. And what I was doing was twofold in nature. Education, so when I'm invited to certain churches or school or different community-based projects, I would give lectures on health. I would also go door to door and find people who were sick and minister to them using like water therapy and some other natural remedies to help them, because I found out that sometimes they're sick and they don't have the money for the traditional medicine. I'm able to help them with the natural remedies. Some of them can be found in their home. Some of them it's cheaper than compared to pharmaceutical drugs. After being in the Philippines for a couple of years, I one of my mission was to help train an aviation ministry of how they can incorporate natural remedies into their aviation efforts in caring for the Filipino people. And so I was introduced to the president, his wife, and some of the other guys who fly. And I was spent 1 month with them. I had no interest in their airplane. I knew they were pilots, but I had no interest because I was just so focused on being a medical missionary. I love teaching, I love the traveling. And it was after that, maybe 2 years later, the idea sparked in my mind, hey, what if they want more missionary pilot? And so I went to the director at this point, we're no friends for a couple of years. And I said to him, hey, do you need more mission pilot? He said, yeah, sure. And I got interested because I was thinking after traveling around the Philippines on the boat, um, I mean, you name the place, I've gone there, public commute. Like when I just started traveling, plane ticket was so expensive. So the Barco was the cheaper option, right? And the bus. And so I did a lot of land trip, boat ride. And I'll be honest, every time I got home from a mission, like 2 or 3 weeks, I would be sick for 2 days because of the long, exhausting travels. So I realized that the aviation ministry, they are able to reach Filipinos who are cut off by geography or separated because of water, right? And so I said, maybe if I become a missionary pilot, I can reach more Filipino people and reach them faster than the long, exhausting trip. And so that sparked an interest in aviation. And believe it or not, though, after the director said, yeah, we need more pilots, it took me 9 years to have one license and a rating to be able to walk up to an airplane, fired up, and go flight missions to help Filipino people. So basically, what I do is we have established contact with some of these areas where they have an airstrip or runway you can land on. We'll go in there and I will introduce myself and what I do with this airplane and the organization as well. And I'll leave my contact and I'll say, if you need help with your medical emergency, just reach out to me and I'll come and help you. And so we do. They will call me, I'll go back and I'll meet sometimes the mayor, counselor, head of the LGU, sometimes it's a doctor himself. And after establishing that contact and that relationship, they will call and they'll say, Captain, there was a motorcycle accident and a patient came into the hospital, head injury, unconscious, oxygen level is low. Can you bring this person from this island to another island where they can get the medical care? So I'll fly the plane there, I'll pick up the patient, help to load them, and then I would take them to another airport where I land and wait in ambulance. Sometimes the ambulance is even running late, but the ambulance will meet me at some point, get the patient and take the patient to that hospital that will try and meet their medical needs. A lot of the patients are critical. There's some who are not so critical, but we still help them because the area or the island is underdeveloped. For example, there are some areas they don't have like a way to scan the tummy to see if the baby is doing well and there's complications. They don't have an OB-GYN, they don't have an ultrasound machine. So that person who is pregnant would have to take a boat or a long 3-day trip, boat, land to go get just a checkup to see how the baby is doing. We'll go in and we'll make that 2, 3 day trip only 30 minutes, an hour. And so even if they're not critical, they might need to just get off the island because the doctor will say the clinic is underdeveloped. complications is happening, go get off the island, go somewhere else and get further assessment on what's happening with your health. So they'll be stable, but we make the travel a lot more manageable for them in their time of ailment.
What's the farthest place that you flew in just to help people?
From Batangas to Batanes, it's a 4 hour trip one way. And the little airplane does have the range to go that far nonstop without refueling. But that's the furthest, and it's actually my favorite place to fly missions is Batanes. With Batanes, I've done critical patients, non-critical patients. I've had people who have died and they want closure with the family, so they'll ask me to bring the cadaver from Manila area back to Batanes for closure. One story stands out to me outside of medical stuff was in the pandemic. There was a student who was in Tugigarao studying, and somehow someone tried to rape her. And so the family reached out to me and asked me if I could take the daughter home because she's not doing so well. Someone tried to rape her, and that mission brought a lot of tears to my eyes because I'm used to critical patient, cadaver, cargo, but to actually bring someone home because they were in that kind of situation and to reunite her with her family, it really warmed my heart.
And you do all this for free, no fees or anything?
Yeah, I'm not paid. I'm not paid to do this. It's completely volunteer. And I tell people that sometimes in life, compensation is not always limited to finances. The satisfaction I get when I see the smile on people's faces, it justifies, as in English we say, the end justifies the means. It is very expensive to operate an airplane, but knowing that people's lives are being saved, people's lives are being healed when they're sick, moms are able to give birth to newborn, which is you help to bring a new generation into this world. We facilitate closure as well with relatives who they would have to either bury the person away from home or cremate them to take home. We facilitate closure. So it's a huge blessing to be able to do that.
How many people would you say you have saved?
Give or take, I keep an accurate record. I've done 400 medevac flights so far, and out of that 400, at least 75% of those lives were saved. Only minority lost their lives, and most of them who died were people who were hopeless cases in the hospital, and their dying wish was before they take their last breath, they would like to go home and die there. Out of the 400 patients I've transported, only one person died on the plane. One died on arrival, and the other, two died on arrival, and only one died in flight.
What does it make you feel when, there are lives lost during transportation or the people that you're helping? Because you were there during their last moments, how does it make you feel?
It's an emotional train wreck for me when I do those missions. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up with my mom, so I'm more on the feminine side of life, more compassion, soft-hearted. And so somehow I don't know how to fully explain it in words, but when I pick these Filipinos up and occasionally some foreigners as well, there's this connection, there's this bond where it's like they are my blood relatives. And so when they don't make it, there's times I go home. I mean, I'm not able to make it home. I'm in a hotel, and I just let my emotions go, and I will break down, just crying at least an hour, looking back at the mission and the person didn't make it. I'm crying, I'm praying and asking God, why? I said, God, I tried my best. We got in, but the patient didn't make it. So emotionally, it's very taxing on me, taxing rather. It drains me emotionally. And I know it's because I grew up with my mom, who I'm more on the caring, nurturing side. And so God has connected my heart to the heart of the Filipinos. And so there's this, I don't have the words, but when I see them and their struggles and their suffering, there's a bond that happened right at that moment. And when they don't make it, I grieve with them as if I've lost my own relatives themselves. Without that softness of heart and compassion, there's no way the average person can do this kind of work free without a paycheck. It's not a job for me, it's a calling. It's my mission. And at this point, after doing it now for 6 years, I would say that this is where I have my ultimate satisfaction in this world. I don't see myself doing anything else anytime soon.
You mentioned that 75% of the people that you transport, they've made it. What does it make you feel to, help countless people?
It makes me feel like myself. Growing up for me, I was surrounded by strangers all the time. I'm not that closely connected with my biological family. And so, um, basically, it makes me feel like now I know how those strangers felt when they reached out to my mom and I. So I'm basically the stranger now helping strangers. And it gives me such satisfaction to know that I'm not just helping, but people are alive today because of that little effort. And it keeps me going. It's tough, it's challenging, but when I reflect on if you get this mission done, this baby is gonna come into this world. That's priceless. You couldn't pay me to do that, right? So it does make me feel ultimately satisfied.
What do they usually say to you, if I may ask?
Thank you, Cap. Thank you, Cap. When the weather is challenging and the winds are just crazy, some of them I can tell they're praying and they're God fearing. They're like, "Thank you, Lord." And when I hear those words like "Thank you, Lord," it warms my heart because what it says to me is the person behind me is a praying individual. And they're seeing that they were praying. God sent me on their island with this little airplane. And when I make the mission and I touch down on that runway or airstrip and I hear, "Thank you, Lord," I said, this person's faith is now boosted because this mission was an answer to their prayers. So mostly they just say thank you. And to be honest, most like 95% of the people I transport, I on average don't hear back from them much. There's no calculated motive where, okay, I help you, I'm a Christian, so therefore, you know what? This is the church, this is my doctrinal belief. Come see us weekly or get your phone number. No. I help them organically. Like their thank you and that experience at the airport, sometimes it takes years before I ever get a message and the person will say, "Cap, you remember so and so?" I said, "No, well, my sister is doing well." They'll like occasionally they'll find me on social media, randomly scrolling, and I pop up and they find me and they come back and they say thank you. Or I go back to the island and I'm at the airport or on the island moving around and someone will walk up to me and say, "God, I don't know if you remember, but you transported my mom. She's reading her Bible. She's happy again. She's back to work. She's doing this. She's doing." So it's there's no calculated exchange for helping these people.
Is there any particular story that stood out to you that you still remember to this day?
Yes, there's one is from Batanes. It's a sad story, but it has a very happy ending where my first mission to Batanes by myself in the pandemic was a little boy by the name of Kobe. Kobe had leukemia. And I picked up Kobe, his mom, and his grandmother, and I brought them to Tigigaraw. Kobe went through multiple chemotherapy, and after a while, his body just couldn't keep up, and he died. The mom messaged me and said, "Cap, could you bring Kobe, my husband, and I back to Batanes for closure with our family?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I can." And I picked them up, and I remember Ate Eileen, she was in the back, so the husband and I were up front. He's in the co-pilot seat, I'm flying. And Ate Eileen was resting like this on the coffin for an hour and a half, just crying and embracing her son. After the flight, I didn't get a chance to go to the funeral because it's pandemic, so I couldn't get off. I wasn't allowed to go beyond the bathroom there in the airport. But we kept in touch. And when I started raising money to buy an airplane to continue the mission, she reached out. She said, "Cap, I don't have a lot of money, but send me your bank details. My family and I would like to contribute something towards you buying an airplane." And they did, and other relatives, oh, I'm the aunt of Colby, I'm the uncle of Colby. And so her family was supportive financially in buying the plane that I'm helping me to buy the plane that I now have. Whenever I go to the island, she's one of those persons who always come to greet me, pasalubong, she'll bring me ube and little souvenir stuff. And and it's interesting where even though I brought her son who died home, her story and mine have become this bond where every time I go there now, I've met multiple other family members. We have established this bond.
What would you say is the hardest part of what you do? What are the biggest challenges that you always face?
There's two challenges I face. Finances, financially, it's tough. Aviation is very costly. I mean, the airplane itself values like about 4 million pesos. I got it a million cheaper because someone who should have sold their share donated it and say, hey, don't worry about my 1 million that you need to worry to pay off this thing. My license costs a lot of money to renew, medical, etc. So financially, it's tough. So it's challenging to keep raising money all the time. Like the average stuff that breaks on the airplane is $1,000 or 50 something thousand pesos. Being able to constantly say there is a need, there is a need, there is a need. At times, honestly, I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed because that's just what it takes. I mean, I grew up poor. I don't have the family who is rich to just give back on this level financially. So those are the toughest times for me because sometimes I need the funds. I don't have it. I don't know anyone who has it. And some of my donors, they're not rich. And a lot of them are not able to constantly keep giving because it's an airplane. And it's the toughest time because when I don't have the means, there are there are times when pe- people die. They lose their life, and I wish I had the support that never stops or no break. But it's not a business where you put money and you get investment and you earn profit. So it's not all the time I have the support to just keep going. And during those down times, it's the it's the most challenging time for me. There's also one other challenge I have, which is access to some areas because without the embrace of the government in some municipality or island, I cannot go in and help the people. And there's times I meet with the doctor and he said, Cap, we have need here, but unless the government embrace you, we cannot partner. And so that breaks my heart to know that, I'm willing, I'm available, but if the government, if the mayor doesn't approve it, it cannot happen. And so those two challenges, it's very discouraging sometimes. And when it happens, I want to quit. I want to go home because for me, I'm not paid to do it. And it's like I do my utmost best. I will do it for free. I'll put in the effort, but without the embrace, the handshake, the courtesy, acceptance, it's impossible. And again, I grew up poor. I don't have money to do this. So financially, it's tough to keep an airplane going, helping people for free. It's not easy.
What happens if the nation stops?
That's it. That's it. That's it. We park the plane and we won't be able to do it anymore. It's the airplane was bought from my social media account. Like I had couple, thousand followers, and I spent 9 months sharing stories of when I being with the organization, using their airplane and billion hours in experience. And then later on, I had my page and my followers, and I said, "Hey guys, there's an opportunity to go to a new area of the Philippines and start a base there." And I said, "Hey, join me on this journey and let's raise the money to buy an airplane." And there are kind people out there. As challenging as it is, when I think about quitting, I keep going because there's a few people who are sacrificial enough to give. And so after 9 months, the airplane was fully paid for by people, Filipinos, American, Canadian, some from Australia and different parts of the world came together and made it possible. My social media followers they are the bloodline. That's why I share my story, but it's really their story too. It's both are connected. There are people who they don't have a lot. They're not filthy rich, but they're sacrificial enough to say, I can't do it. I got to go to work. But part of my reason to work is to save a little from my family budget and extend that to what you're doing in the Philippines. So my donors and I are in partnership for the Filipino people. And sometimes I wish I could. I mean, they are so anonymous that I don't have to mention their names. I don't have to give them anything in return. They just watch. And I reach out to them and I say, "Hey, I was able to save someone's life today. Thank you again for giving financial." When I say those words, it's not just casual words to say thank you. It's really from the heart because I know if I don't have the means, my family doesn't have it, my friends doesn't have it. So without them, it would just be impossible. And I'm always wondering how do they feel? Because as I said, they're so anonymous. They don't want to be bothered. But I've always thought about them every time I pray. Every time I pray, I said, Lord, please bless these people who give to make this plane keep flying to save lives in the Philippines. And when I do hear from some of them, they have good stories. They said, "Oh, the job is doing good, the business is doing good, the family is doing good." And I said, "Thank you for letting me know because I'm always wondering is God blessing these people for what they've given to the work. I keep going because I put myself in these people's shoes and I've lived their life. I know what poverty feels like. And so what keeps me going is the results. It's priceless. And even though it's challenging and, sometimes I feel like I'm bothering people a little bit because I'm always needed, need something and it costs money. But I've learned how to swallow my pride and be willing to be vulnerable because I think I think more about the recipient than myself. I said, Lord, it's okay. If people think that I'm just a beggar or bothering people for more money, I said, it's okay. I'm not asking it for myself, you know. I'm always asking it for the people. They need it more than me. So if I just need to swallow my pride and learn how to ask, it's okay. I can face the criticism. Sometimes people say, I'm young, I'm wasting my life. I should go work and make money so I can stop asking for money. And it hurts, but, but I just keep going because I said, these people have nobody else to ask for them. So I said, forget my pride, forget what people will say about me, and just ask for them since they cannot ask for themselves.
When did this dream of helping people came about?
It came about from my childhood. My mom. I grew up watching my mom help people. As poor as she was, my mom was constantly helping people. Our first home we got was in exchange for her taking care of an old lady for free. And I noticed something about my mom where she couldn't pass by a home where there's a senior bedridden with sores. She was always moved with compassion for the neighbors. And even now, every time we talk, she will say, oh, son, I have a senior person who is a friend. I go there, I clean the house and I cook and I bring food and I give them their medicine and treat their wounds. And so honestly, my mom is the person who exposed me to this kind, compassionate heart to serve people without paycheck involved. And so even though the care of others was what she did as a job, she always searched through the community and find some old person who cannot pay for a caregiver, and she always volunteer herself.
If your mom can hear this now, what would you say to her?
Um, Mom, I love you a lot, and you're my hero. I'm where I am today because as tough as life was for us, you never gave up on me. And that taught me resilience. I know we grew up poor and life is still a struggle for us, but the example you left me is one I'll always cherish for the rest of my life, that even life is tough. She's always saying, son, don't give up, keep going. And I watch her struggle, I watch you struggle, and my mom never quits, never quit. And because of how she did it, some people would grow up say, "Oh, my mom abandoned me." Mom, I understand. No, as I get older, I now know why you left me to go work because I find myself doing the same thing now. I have to be away from family. I have to be away from home to get these missions done. And I see that, yeah, Mom, you're my hero and the example you've left me is one that has shaped me into what I am today. So if you ever contemplate in your life, if you've made a change in this world, it's me. I'm the change that you have given. I'm the contribution you've made to society. And thank you very much. And I love you a lot.
I would just like to ask, since you've been here in the Philippines for quite some time now, how's your stay here? Did you make any friends or anything?
Yes, I have a lot of friends here. I have Western friends. I have tons of Filipino friends. My page now has 42,000 followers. And the last time I checked a month ago, 25,000 of that are Filipinos from the Philippines. And so my social media family is my family. I'm connected with them. I'm connected with people. I have some amazing mayors, counselors, head of LGU. There are nurses and doctors who help to make these missions possible. They are my contacts. They look out for me. There are a lot of people who have hotels who have hosted me for free. They've given me food, accommodation. And so I've met a lot of friends here who has become family for me, firefighters, police, security guard. I mean, they're there and they embrace me. Here with my wife and my son, and they are just they keep me going. I leave them a lot to get the missions done, but they're very patient with me. They understand what I do and they support what I do. And so it's one of those situations where, especially when I leave and they'll say, "Oh, Dada, you'll come back or make sure you be safe." I said, "All right." But I know, it's playing, it's flying. When I leave home, there's no guarantee that I'll be back home. But knowing that I'm going out there to save a life, it justifies it for me. It justifies. And God has given me a good family enough to understand what my calling in life is.
So now you have a family here?
Yes, I have a family. My wife is here, my son is here. That's most of the family I have. One adopted daughter who lives in Surigao. She has a baby recently. She named him after me, actually. It's just being here. I was her teacher, and I was so young. I'm just 27, and she embraced me. Dad, you're like my dad." And so for the last maybe since 2013 until now, she has embraced me as a dad, and it was a bit awkward for me at first, but I've learned how to accept it, and I've tried to be an example to her all the time. I've seen her son, who is he's Gavin, cute little guy, and he was born last year October. So he's born October, I'm October, she's also October. And so having her in my life is a huge blessing because it's like she's like a daughter. She really listened to me. I can scold her if I have to, and I'm able to inspire her. And so yeah, recently I was there in Surigao where I met her again after 2 years, her and her husband and her two kids, and they're family for me. That's my family structure.
If I may ask if it's okay, is your wife also a Filipina or
Yes, she's Filipina from Cavite area. And we got married, I think, and I think I need to remember. We got married 2013, June to 2013. So this year will be our 12th anniversary. Yes.
what's your hopes for little Davin Jr.?
His name is Josea. My hope for my son is that he might not be a pilot, but I want him to have a caring, compassionate heart. And he's gonna be 3 years old next month. He'll be three, and he already has a small little seed of compassion. Like when I go home and I get in the house, the first thing he will ask me, "Dada, you hungry?" And it melts my heart every time. It's like he's not even three yet. He's like, "Dada, you hungry?" I said, "Yeah, I'm hungry." He's like, "You eat first?" And so that's my hope for him, that he will have a kind, caring heart and be willing. I'm actually telling him that. I said, "Son, when you grow up, I want you to care for others like you would care for your own family, your own friends. Have a caring heart because it will take you places and be able to reach people and help people. My message to you is very simple. Before you leave this life, find a way to help to make this world a better place. Find a way to not just think about your family, your friends, your own circle, and yourself. Find a way to reach out and give back to someone that's not connected with you, that has nothing to offer you in return, and make that a part of your life and reason for living in this world. If you would like to know and be a part of the social media family, you can find me on all platforms. Flying by Faith is the name on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and also Facebook. You can be my friend there, you can be my follower, and you can glean and learn lessons. If you're impressed to partner with me for the purpose of helping people in the Philippines, definitely we always welcome new support. If you know someone who might need my help to offer a medevac or a cadaver transport, whatever it is, you can definitely reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to see what I can to be a blessing to you as well.
May ibang mga kwento ba kayong gustong marinig? I-comment nyo lang yan sa comment section at huwag nyo na rin kakalimutan na i-like, share at mag-subscribe sa aming YouTube channel.